Hello everyone, Alejandro Sanchez here with Apex Racing Academy. Today we're kicking things off with a track guide for week 11 of IMSA, this time at Detroit circuit, street circuit for a change. This season we are giving away the Mercedes-AMG GT3 data pack for free completely, and that includes both the qualifying and race setups. On top of that, we are providing the endurance setups as well, just so that you can race in the IMSA Endurance Series. Now let's break down the circuit. Detroit is quite technical, as you probably know. It's quite easy to crash into every single wall that is there on the track, and it can prove quite frustrating. This car isn't that bad as in other seasons around here. IMSA is probably going to be really chaotic. The biggest issue with this track is the bumps, really, because sometimes if you are not exactly on the right up against the curve, you will understeer into the moon, well, into the outside wall to be more precise, and you will get wheel damage. So if you end up race clean, congrats. It's quite the achievement. But yeah, solid car choice for this week. Good drop, as it is the case with every week, just a little bit weak in qualifying maybe. The tires take quite a bit of time to get up to temp, so you may need to do some warm up in the qualifying laps. Also be really careful with the multi-class, because there's not really many places where you can get past cleanly, maybe in sector 3 if anything. So without further delay, let's dive in. You can grab this season's Mercedes-AMG GT3 data pack for IMSA for free by clicking the link in the description below, or by going over at apexracingac.com. So let's get into the lap. Sector 1 is probably the trickiest on cold tires, because the car is going to keep understeering and you will just keep on finding time as you go along the stint. So keep that in mind and don't try to push the car too much on the opening laps, because it's going to understeer. And I just brake at the 300 marker here over the left. I drop it to third quite late as well, in order to not get snaps. As I mentioned on the intro, it's quite bumpy, so you gotta minimize the chances of the car snapping and understeering. In this case, I even drive over this inside curve, because I feel like it helps the car rotate sometimes. Not so much, but not up against the grass even, but yeah, I just drive over it a little bit. And then keep it in third. It's very important that you keep the differential locked for this left-hander, so don't brake at all. Like, keep the throttle applied and just start to turn in a little bit earlier. Even if you have to apply the throttle a little bit later than usual, you should keep it relatively tight, because it's quite a lot less bumpy, and that way you can make sure that you don't understeer too much. So keep it in third, even drive over this inside curve in order to help the car rotate. And then on the exits, just gotta make sure that you are relatively tight on the exit, because otherwise if you're too wide, it's just gonna understeer into the wall. Careful with this outside wall. It's quite easy to touch it, but this car is kind of a tank, so you can get away with quite a few wall brushes. Unlike the Ferrari, for example, where if you touch it once, you probably get right side damage. So sector 2, I shift to fifth. Sorry. In other instances, I will keep it in fourth, but I feel like shifting to fifth gives me a little bit better engine braking, so I just do it. Once again, we are going to look at the 300 marker for starting to brake. Gonna drop it to second gear. Quite hard on the brakes and quite progressive on the brakes as well. Drop it to, well, brake to around 80%, 85. Start to turn in at the 100 marker. second gear, as I said, you want to touch the inside curve a little bit with this car. With other cars you can jump it a little bit farther, but with this one you can just graze it. The way you get good sector time around here is just by carrying a lot of entry speed. So by braking as late as possible and then getting the car stopped right in time for this very tight right-hander. And then on the exits, you can just use the entirety of the curve, even a little bit of the grass without any issues. Then this right-hander, you need to brake quite a bit earlier than you will think, because it tightens up on exit and there's a lot of bumps. You can brake around here on this white Lear Corporation sign on the left. So very light braking pressure, like 40% if anything. Thread of the brakes up until this point, and then you want to cut quite a bit of this inside curve, because that way you will make sure that you don't crash into this outside wall. Just like that. You need to hit the throttle, by the way, before you actually hit the curve, because otherwise, you will probably bottom out a little bit too much. But I'm leaving like a tire width between the edge of my left side tires and the beginning of the curve here on the right. And that's roughly the way to take it. Just be very, very firm throttle, because that way you will get good traction. Just like that, full throttle on exit. You need to get the entry speed absolutely perfect, because otherwise you will understeer into this outside wall. And then through here you need to brake a lot earlier than usual and drop it to second quite late. If you pay attention here, there's like a peak to this outside wall where it starts going back to the red side, and that's exactly where you need to brake. So trail of the brakes, once again, like 40%. Very, very late downshift, and we want to keep it as tight as possible to this inside curve. Don't carry too much entry speed, because otherwise the car's going to slide out and you're going to crash into this outside wall. And it has a tendency to get light and just get loose around here. Full throttle as close as possible to this outside wall without driving into it. And then through this one, I just brake a little bit before the beginning of these black and gold signs on the right. You can brake up against the wall even. It's very similar to one corner in Long Beach, sorry. But you can lean on the curve, lean on the wall, sorry, and it's gonna be completely fine. You won't even get a 0x. So keep it in third, hit the throttle quite early, because there's a big straight after this, and just try to get as close as possible to this inside pure Michigan sign without driving over it. It's quite deceiving, because there's like 2 stages to the gutter, and the second stage the car sort of like drives upon it, so careful with that. I don't really recommend you do that, because you're gonna lose a lot of time. So just try to get as close as possible to this second phase and not the actual like wall on the inside, because it's quite deceiving. The actual limit is sooner, is what I'm trying to say. And then on the exit, just careful with the exit understeer, and just try to get as close as possible to this pure Michigan sign on the outside, and immediately go back to the right side of the track. There's 3 huge bumps, so brace yourself and just try to drive as close as possible to this inside wall without actually touching it. And then here you have 2 choices. You can either keep it in 4th or shift to 5th. I recommend shifting to 5th for the same reasons I recommended you shifting to 5th before sector 2 as well. You have better engine braking, is quite a lot harder to run too deep into the corner. For this one, I just brake at the 400 marker, and the wall sort of goes to the left, so I'm trying to follow the wall so that I get a wider entry to this corner. Just like this. I'm not really braking in a straight line, but I'm just following the wall here on the left for approaching this corner as wide as possible and dropping it to second gear, braking to around 90%. Barely using this inside curve. It's the same as on sector 2. You can barely use it, just like that, just so the car doesn't jump and understeer into this outside wall, where it's the easiest to crash into and get wheel damage. So careful with that. But you want to carry a lot of minimum speed through the corner, definitely. Then through here, as soon as the wall here goes flat, I start to brake. Careful with the entry. Don't drive over this inside curve, because it will upset the car way too much. Just like this, get as close as possible to it without actually driving over it, and hit the throttle really soon. So on the exit, just aim for this part of concrete that is there between this little line, this little black line, and the wall, and that's quite a bit less bumpy, so we can take full advantage of that. Then through here, it's the same as on sector 1, you want to keep the differential locked for this very long left-hander that tightens up on exit, and you want to keep it as tight as possible because it's a lot more bumpy on the outside than it is when you get close to the inside curve. So I keep it in second, I don't even shift to third, and yeah, I tap the brakes a little bit through here, and then I keep it with a little bit of throttle, and then I'm managing the throttle and the brakes. It's not as tricky with this car, but for example with the Porsche and the McLaren, it's quite a lot trickier. So just like this, a little bit of throttle as well to have the car rotate, and as soon as you reach the bottom of the bridge, you can start to brake. I keep it in second because it's not worth it to drop it to first, and bit of a late apex as well. You want to get really close to the inside curve because once again it's a lot less bumpy the closer you get to the curve. So yeah, then on the exit, just try to put the car as straight as possible and try to aim for this part of the track that is as close to the wall as possible, because that way you will get a lot less bumps as well. So it's quite a heavy risk versus reward track, if I say so myself. Then for the last sector, I just brake at the 200 marker and brake to around 50%. Keep it in third. Careful with the entry speed because it's quite easy to trigger the ABS too much and just go straight into the outside wall. And pick up the throttle quite soon as well to have the car rotate. Another part of the track where you want to keep the differential locked. Just like this, you can even lean on the outside wall as I did on this lap, and then without even getting a 0x. And then through here, be quite brave with the throttle and get as close as possible to the inside wall without actually driving over it. Just like that, and then on the outside wall, just as close as possible once again. Then go back to the right side of the track. For qualifying, you can keep it as tight as possible to the right, to the less meters, but for a race stint, you can just drive normal line. Don't forget to head over to apexracingac.com or by clicking the link in the description below. Also, don't forget to join the Discord server where we are providing support for every car, not just the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, as well as the coaching sessions that we host on Wednesday evenings for IMSA, where a coach is gonna sit with you for anything between an hour and 2 hours. And yeah, you can just ask him voice chat whatever questions you have, and he can watch you drive in real time. So it's like a massive deal because you basically get a coaching session for free. So yeah, take full advantage of that and see you next one.